Somebody in the media that I actually have respect for, and trying to think how many people I can't name anybody that I really have respect for in the mainstream media. But Megyn is one of them. Megyn Kelly, we worked together for a while I was at Fox, and she is just one intense broadcaster that knows how to keep people's feet to the fire. She is also a best-selling author and a host of a brand new Megyn Kelly Show podcast, which I subscribed and gave a 5-star rating to today. Yep, I listened to it.
You're the greatest.
Yeah, I rated it as well. I thought it was fascinating. You had 3 interviews on. I think it was today I listened to it. This week, it's Tuesday, and it feels like it's, Saturday already. But nice to have you here, Megyn.
Great to be here. Today, actually, for the first time, Glenn, I did a talking points memo on Trump. Yeah, because what I've been hearing from so many people, including a lot of my female friends, is they'll tell me privately, I'm going to vote for him. Yeah. Shy Trump voters. But they would never say it to my friends here on the Upper West Side. And so I tried to just speak to why people are going to vote for him. You're not a bigot or a racist or a sexist or a transphobe just because you're voting for Trump. And the media has been so stomach turning and trying to shove that message down our throats. So finally, I just sort of did a rundown of the past 2 or 3 years with him, 4 years really, and how people have evolved on him and why you really could vote for him, even if you don't appreciate his jagged edges.
Well, I will tell you that you talked about, in the podcast that I heard, you were talking about your friend, who was at a party with you and a bunch of others, and everybody was bashing Donald Trump and saying how great Biden was, and your friend didn't say anything. And when you left, she's like, I'm not with them at all. And you hear those things because you worked for Fox for a while, so I guess people feel like they're safe with you or whatever. But I found that to be really true, especially with women. The women in the suburbs that are surrounded in these neighborhoods where everybody knows everybody's business. And unfortunately, men and women like to be popular, and they're not going to say things at cocktail parties unless you're like me or you.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's why, I hear from a lot of women in particular saying, I love, you're saying the things I wish I could say, but they're afraid. And women are raised still, even in today's day and age, to be good girls, to get along, to not make waves. And it's not like them to take on friends who are saying, he's awful, he's racist, my poor children, they're going to be like him. That's the messaging, because I get it from both sides, Glenn. I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, and I was on the wrong side of Trump for 9 months, thanks to him, not what the way I felt. But he was coming after me for a good long while. So a lot of people here just assume I hate him. And then you got the other half that just assumes I love him because I worked at Fox News for 13 years. So a lot of people come up to me just assuming I'm on their side. And these people who are pro-Trump, these women, there is no way they would bring it up in polite society. I also think, though, it is also true that his biggest hurdle is with women. There are women who genuinely don't like the way he talks and the way he is.
There's a lot of people like...
My feeling is we're seeing some of that. We're seeing some of that in like the tighter margins that he's suffering tonight.
Right. There's I don't like the way he behaves all the time. It's not something I am, because of the way the media has reacted more than anything else. I am not the guy who's like, I am proud to be with Donald Trump, because he does a lot of things that makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. His policies, generally speaking, I agree with, and I am proud of standing with those things. But it's the media that has really pushed, I think, a lot of people into this place to where you'll take a bullet for the guy because it's so unfair on what they've done. It's so unjust and so un-American. What's going to happen if he wins tonight? What is the media going to do?
They're going to, the dejection, you're going to see, you're not going to have to work very hard to see it in their faces. And already you're seeing some blowback online on Twitter as, he's only really won Florida so far. He hasn't officially won, according to Fox News, but he's going to win Florida. And already there's the blame game. You've got people saying this is the fault of white women. And by the way, Hispanics in Florida are white. Would you get it under control, please?
Jake Tapper Jake Tapper just tweeted out that the idea of a blue wave was always a pipe dream. That's not what you were saying about 3 hours ago.
Come on. And Nate Silver this morning put Florida. He said Trump had only a 31% chance of winning Florida. I hate to say it, but so far, our friend over at Trafalgar, Robert Cahaley, it has gotten it right. The one outlier, who was against all the other pollsters, and what he's saying tonight is that everything's coming in exactly the way he thought it would. The night is young.
Yeah.
And, you talk about Florida, you talk about North Carolina, Ohio, of course, we're watching all those states. But Trump needs to win all those, and he needs to keep Pennsylvania, assuming he loses, and this is an assumption, Michigan and Wisconsin, because those are the tightest two for him. So he's got to keep Pennsylvania in the fold if he loses Michigan and Wisconsin, or he's done.
Megyn, you are an attorney. You are a very bright political watcher as well. And so much of the strategy of the most unlikable Democrat being the vice president and the guy who, as I said a few minutes ago, is not going to make it to pudding time on Friday. There's a chance of it. That just doesn't make sense. The fact that they are touting all of the things that make people want to turn off the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball, all of these things that we've always known. America is a decent place. We love our country. We love our flag. We'll admit to some mistakes, sure, but we're not worthless, and we're not all racist. They've been pushing these things while the poll numbers went up. And either everything we've believed about what America is wrong, or the polls and the press were wrong.
Already we're seeing some error in the polls and the assumptions wrong in the polls. And, you look at the betting sites, they've already now they're giving Trump a 72% chance of winning tonight. But there was at least one report tonight from a top law enforcement official down in Florida saying that a top Democrat had reported to them they think this is about BLM. They think Florida's about Hispanics and BLM because the Hispanics did not buy the BLM messaging. They did not want to see the police defunded. And that's a question. I raise it just because we are seeing Trump do better with Hispanics tonight and minority groups. And wouldn't it be ironic if after all those messages we've been told about how racist Republicans are and the country is, if the people who stood up and voted for Donald Trump were people of minority groups who rejected that false messaging about the country?
So does the left double down, and do we go into violence? Is the narrative that they will have to live with that something was racist, something was bad, there was some sort of scam that made all of this happen, and does that push us into violence from the left?
Well, I think that will be the message if they lose. And, we're a ways from that yet. Anything could still happen tonight. If they lose, there's going to be complete dejection reflected all over the country. Here in New York City, we've already received the warning emails from the schools about how they're going to handle it, if he wins and if violence breaks out. And, just like we saw when he won in 2016, the support groups will be offered to the children. And it's like, we're sitting here like, support for what? There's in no event, no matter who I voted for, would I be crying in my soup needing a support group after the election. It's the United States of America. We'll be fine. We'll be fine under any president. But I do think there'll be violence in the streets. They're not putting those boards on the windows for Republicans who might be upset about Joe Biden.
I beg your pardon. I saw an internal memo from a major retailer in New York that said they were putting all of those boards up over their windows because they were afraid of Trump supporters looting and rioting in the streets.
We've seen a lot of that. Sure.
Yeah.
And here in New York, too, there's a quiet contingent of frustrated Republicans who like to loot and break things when things don't go their way. We've seen that during de Blasio, haven't we?
I've seen a lot of middle-aged, white, kind of pudgy guys just saying, I gotta have those Nike sneakers.
Listen, I know a lot of Republicans, and I've seen them disappointed before. They were not big fans of Barack Obama. In my experience, when they get very upset, they drink They swear, they complain, they rip on the media, but they don't loot. I've yet to see looting and destruction and riots.
Megyn, leave us with a prediction.
I would say Trump's doing much better than any pollster but Trafalgar predicted for tonight. And I do believe in the secret Trump vote. It's not showing up in huge margins so far based on what I've seen. So I still have real questions about whether it's going to put him over the edge. But if I had to put money on Trump or Biden right now, if I had to, I'd put it on Trump.